I'd like to take a moment to thank the Blockchain Academy. The Blockchain Academy is an educational training firm offering blockchain training to the enterprise. The Blockchain Academy offers courses for both management and developers, offering delivery online and in live classrooms. The Blockchain Academy works with enterprise clients to create and deliver innovative training programs globally. They recently announced a new blockchain course targeted towards attorneys. To learn more about the Blockchain Academy, visit them at www.theblockchainacademy.com.
This is the Blockchain 360 podcast. Blockchain 360 is a podcast of interviews and discussions about the current state and direction of blockchain. Thank you for joining us today. If this is your first time listening, then thank you for coming. The Blockchain 360 podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at our website, blockchain360.co. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter at Blockchain360. All links discussed today are included in the show notes.
Welcome to Season 3 of the Blockchain 360. I'm Bryant Nielsen. I've been your host for the prior two seasons, and I'm here with you this season for Season 3. And my first guest this year is Aniruddh Jain, and he is the CEO and founder of Blockseed Investments. Now, Ani, he graduated from Columbia University, where he earned an MS in real estate development and investment finance, and he graduated from the ETH Zurich, a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics university, and the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. Ani has a background in design, economics, investment finance, and data science. His first venture came out of the MIT Media Labs and Camtech Hackathon in 2013, which was incorporated into a project in GE Labs, India. Ani is the CEO and partner of the USA arm of Repi firm AJA, and he is also a member of NY Saran, which is the New York South Asian Real Estate Network, a professional association exclusively for commercial real estate professionals in the greater New York City area. Ani, welcome to Blockchain 360.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Great to be here. And I'm actually surprised that I'm the one starting off the first episode of season 3. So super excited.
Well, somebody has to do it, and this year it just happens to be you. So it's a really great thing, and I'm very, very interested in what you do, and we're going to explore that. So really, why don't you do this? Take a moment and tell me a little bit about yourself and your background, and then what we'll do is we'll kind of come up to the company that you currently are the CEO and founder.
Sure. So I went to a university in India, which is similar to what MIT is for here. It's super competitive to get in. And whatever subject you study, they teach you basically all kinds of engineering. So you really get out of there with a lot of knowledge in finance and tech. And then I went to Switzerland, where I worked a lot on data, robotics, and design. And my family background is in real estate, which is why you kind of see a lot of real estate. But I kind of took it towards tech when I joined WeWork, and I was in WeWork's product systems and operations when WeWork wasn't this crazy large organization. And I was kind of the guy in between efficiency, data, and the product. And before that, I was in ZS Associates, which is a business consulting for pharma. They basically do the consulting for all the major pharma guys. And there I was really looking at the entrepreneurship in pharma industry. So how a drug is developed, and then how do you actually sell it, market it? How do you get the money for the next drug to be researched? And both of those really culminated into what I'm doing at Blockseed. So, which I'll tell you, I think, about in a few minutes as well.
Well, how is it that you go from a background in real estate, commercial real estate, then to pharma, and then find yourself now all over into the blockchain space? I mean, this seems to be an unusual path to this technology?
So I was in real estate because if you know a little bit about Asian families, the son has to continue the family business. So I kind of was directed towards that, but I, in general, had a really high aptitude for maths and technology, which I was also interested in. So I kind of, while doing that, always stuck to. And then the consulting firms just found me because they test out the aptitude. Uh, and they found me, and then I kind of went in that direction. So that's how that happened.
All right. Now, you're the CEO and founder of Blockseed Investments. What is Blockseed Investments?
um, so Blockseed is really a company which is trying to fill in this gap where companies before revenue um, don't really have a lot of data. You can't really do the price per share for them. We saw what happened in the blockchain world, right? It's more about the glossy images and who's talking about it more. So we really come in to collect data about founders, really, because that's what the team is about. And then we want to train those founders. And this allows us to actually help those 99.95% of entrepreneurs which really are not on the map. They are either located too far away or are learning, the learning is not in structure enough. So that's kind of the issue that we have right now.
Okay, so you were creating a platform that is kind of, it sounds like to me, as kind of like a virtual incubator. Is that the way to think of it?
Um, it's virtual incubator is not really. It kind of functions like that. Yes, a virtual incubator. But the thing is, think of it more as like the Department of Education, right? And if you think of incubator as a classroom, because they really, we never really remove this factor where. You really have to interact with those, and every incubator or accelerator has their own uh, kind of flavor to them, right? Like they some focus on fintech, some are good with design. Almost all of them connect you with angels, but they focus on different aspects. We, on the other hand, actually reinforce those accelerators by actually providing them analytics with which they can actually help their startups better. So we really are we go in between the startups and the investors and the startup and the accelerators and really help both those entities involved.
What are the main problems that your platform addresses for each of these types of users? And so
Um,
that we're clear, identify the user group and then how your platform helps.
sure. So our first, let me tell you like our core value prop, right? So that otherwise you will feel like our startup is boiling the ocean trying to solve everything. Our core value prop is that we crowd review a startup founder's idea, give the feedback back to the founder to improve on, and use that feedback to kind of create these automated learning modules which the founder then has to learn to really proceed to the next step. It's almost like we create the midterms and the final exam, and the testers are the investors and the founder is the student. Um, so really the problems that we are trying to solve is that a lot of founders don't get structured feedback, right? So if I go to 10 investors, six of them would tell me that you're too early for us, or this is too late for us, or this is not my industry. So it's a lot of inefficiency in the system. On the other hand, if you're an investor and a very famous one at that, you just are bombarded with a lot of pitch decks, even the ones which are not relevant for you. But if you're an angel who really wants to be involved, you barely see any deals, and you're scouring through crowdfunding websites and angel list, and then there's not really robust deal management or kind of networking management tools. So that's it. That's kind of what we are trying to solve as a secondary value prop.
All right, so if I can restate this. So for the startup companies, what you're doing for them is you're helping them clarify their pitch deck and pitch, helping them and maybe even possibly training them in the best possible way to not only in their presentation, but also the pitch that they're going to be making to the investors, and then also helping investors find these undiscovered gems.
Exactly. We actually think that this 3,000 number of founders right now who actually successfully raised seed round, we can significantly increase that and we can actually connect them faster. So a lot of startups fail because they can't raise funds in time. That's also, it's not just about raising funds in time. We can also address many of those issues. So
How?
that's really
How are you addressing those issues?
raising funds in time.
Yeah,
Basically, as an investor relations tool for a startup founder, um, uh, we can help startup founders connect to right investors much quicker than scouring through the other available resources or going to events. And that can basically define, and founders can define how quickly or how many investors they want to reach out to. Of
right.
course, investors can tell them that you're not ready yet, but we can control really how many eyes go over their deck.
Okay. So you've described primarily what the value add is for the startup companies and their founders. You've kind of alluded to some of the advantages for investors. So tell us a little bit about what you do with investors. How are you curating them uh, to to be a part of your platform? And you mentioned, some of the seed funding. What is the deal size for that level of funding that you generally see?
The so let's start with the deal size. We wouldn't really get the guys actually invested there. We would partner with broker dealers on our platform, which will get that executed, and it ranges from a few $1,000s to a few $100,000. It really depends on the idea and the startup founder, and the stage of the product. And to answer the first part of the question is the product which I'm alluding to is that startup founders are stretched too thin to manage the team and the product and the vision and the angels and go to the events, really be out there. So we kind of take this one in investor relations side of things and we automate that for them. And the education of the founder, we automate that for them. Because I really don't know, jumping, for instance, I'm doing a SaaS platform. I know there is like tons of data out there, and the best source would be Sastra, for instance. So okay, I can completely trust Sastra, go over all the blogs, or I can actually have something automated which tells me, okay, you need to kind of learn this and then this. So it's those are the two really big challenges that we solve for the founder.
Okay, so the challenges for the investor are that you're able to give them a pool, a deal flow, literally, for their investments, and so most of these are going to be smaller investors, obviously, at least from my perspective, they might be. What is that mix of investors, more seasoned investors that are wanting to make larger investments versus those angel investors that are, looking for smaller deals?
Yeah, I think the most value derived from our platform would be angel investors and investors who are really far away, or guys who I've been talking to are really large investors, but they are just too busy, and need some sort of an automation than just getting bombarded with pitch decks. So those are the ones which will derive a lot of value, but our tools would actually start to make a lot of sense for more organized investment houses as well, because they mostly rely on deals being shared by their friends or someone else vetting them. And technically, we are doing the same. If a VC usually relies on one of the angels they know or another VC they know to share deals with them, we would actually embrace and optimize that functionality as well. So those things don't change for them at all. They just get managed a bit better than emails in your inbox, which might get missed.
Right. I would like to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, the Blockchain Academy. The Blockchain Academy is an educational training firm offering blockchain training for developers and stakeholders. The Blockchain Academy is currently offering the following live courses: Blockchain Security, Hyperledger Developer Workshop, and Ethereum Zero to DApp. Visit the Blockchain Academy's website for course outlines and course dates. The Blockchain Academy's courses can be delivered as a company-specific training, tailor-made to fit your organizational needs, delivered both on-site and online. The Blockchain Academy's training is cost-effective, flexible, and can be conducted in a manner that best suits your organizational needs. To learn more about the Blockchain Academy, visit them at www.theblockchainacademy.com. Now, one of the things on your website, by the way, your website is www.blockseedinvestment.com. When I'm looking on the investor things, the tab, one of the things that it appears to me is that your platform provides quantitative business evaluations, which allows for auto matching with the relevant investors. Tell me a little bit about how that works. What does it how does it value itself, or how do you value these startups? And then how does the auto match process actually work?
Typically, if you are a investment house, you have a thesis. You break down the startup in its problem statement, solution, market fit, and these, like, every large investment house has many different ways. And then some investors are more, I like the founder and I like the idea and I generally know about this industry. So we kind of formalize that into point-wise breakdown. And once you've rated 10 startups, for instance, and you've said these startups are problem is 5 on 10 according to me. The solution is 6 on 10, and then another investor has also done a similar rating. So we can kind of triangulate that, which kind of startups you like, and how ready they are on what aspects, and we can gauge the interpersonal skills of the founders as well. And we can also target the industries that you want to be specifically open to. If you are an investor open to blockchain, for instance, we can show you blockchain startups. If you only invest in medtech, then we basically don't let any medtech non-medtech company come your way. So we can do those kind of filtering.
All right. So one of the things I also see on your website is that you allow for the investors to anonymously follow the startup's progress. How does that actually happen? I mean, is there ongoing metrics that your platform is generating and resolving, so these anonymous investors can be like sitting in the back and then finally then stepping forward and saying, "This is of interest to me"? How does that work?
We have multiple features, and these are one of those advanced features that we have. Uh, and so, how it really works is that investors never pay for our platform. They have to give back constructive feedback. That's how they're paying to the community and for the platform. If you do enough reviews, you get these features as well, meaning that you can give an anonymous review to a founder. So he would not know that you gave him a review, but he will still get the review blended in with like 5 6 other investors review. uh, and then you can just keep a track of the startup founder till we give you a notification that, hey, this startup is about to get funded. So you can basically jump in at that point and show yourself to the founder.
All right. So I'm formulating this all in my mind. So one of the things that we talked about before we started this interview was, what is the difference between Blockseed and other accelerators or incubators? How is it? I mean, one of the things that I think you used the word was the flavor. Each incubator or accelerator has their own flavor. Well, what is the flavor of Blockseed Investments?
It's like a curry, to be honest. It has a lot of them. The idea is accelerators were really happy when Crunchbase, AngelList, all these platforms allowed them to get the applications in. And accelerators really have a lot to do with day-to-day operations. Kind of some accelerators now are also events. Some accelerators are also co-working spaces. So they really have a lot of on-ground operations. So just think of us more like a dashboard panel for accelerators to really know um, which startup to introduce to which investor, how many applications are coming in, are they really famous, then really define what they are famous for. Like, are we really good at product or marketing or sales? So some accelerators have started defining that. Like, if you know Beta Works in New York, they've defined that we are a product specific accelerators and we work on great products. Like Jiffy came out of there. So we'll basically let them become experts of that domain. And then many accelerators are quite general, um, or some are fintech. So that's the flavors that I was talking about. And we don't really compete because we don't want to remove this human element from the learning. We just want to structure it so that they can help more startups and increase their reach, basically.
Well, where are you in terms of the current development of the platform? I mean, what stage are you in? I mean, you've kind of laid out to me the robustness of your vision. Where are you in the development cycle of that?
Right. So this is first of its kind analytics that we would be doing, and the first aspect for it is to really collect the data to kind of kickstart the engine. So what we are
Wait,
doing
wait,
is we
wait.
got
What kind of
50,
data are you collecting?
just how the startup founders need to learn which aspects of doing a startup, like how do they need to learn about doing problems, like defining their problem statement, sales, or learning more about marketing, uh, those kind of data. Where do the startup founders really lack,
And
basically?
how do you actually curate that information about identifying what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, where they need help, where they don't need help, what kind of guidance do they need?
So that's what I meant by we use the crowd sourced reviews to gauge where most of the startups lack. So once we know, hey, so the first 100 startups we saw, all of them lacked at marketing. So we kind of then build educational modules for marketing for them specifically, and then we ask them to complete those modules, and we do a test after the module to see how much did they really take out of that module. And then the next investor reviews, and if there is an improvement, we know that okay, that module helped, so we need to not tweak it. If that module didn't help a lot, then we tweak the module, and we see, so we really see the learning acceleration. That's the data point, like how quickly is someone learning.
So, how many startups have actually been a part of your platform?
So we have about 50 startups right now, which is the closed beta. We partnered with Columbia University's Teachers College, which does a lot of organizational psychology and learning. So Professor Passmore and 12 students are then going to help us do a larger study in the beta that we have. So these startups are smaller startups which have a pitch deck and have raised only a few $1,000s. And then there are startups which have raised up to $7 million. So there's a good range of startups that we are studying, and we'll be publishing these results on a blog and then via the journalists as well.
Where are you actually posting the results of your study that you're doing in conjunction with Columbia University?
I think we'll post it both on the blogs and Blockseed blogs, and then we'll be sending it to the journalists that we are in touch with. So it's actually going to, the results will come out around March to April.
Oh, that's excellent. It's just right around the corner. Um,
Yeah.
and so you have these 50 beta companies. When do you think you're going to then take on the next cohort of companies that are going to be coming to you?
I think at the mid of next month, we are going to open it to a larger set of companies. And that's kind of when our product develops a bit further as well. And that's when we'll also start to include investors and really start focusing on what the investors want out of this platform as well. So right now, investors side of study has been more conversations and surveys. then we'll actually start to focus through the data and the website as well.
All right. Now, what do you think is going to be the most compelling feature about the Blockseed platform? What is that unique selling
I get,
proposition that just totally differentiates you from everyone else?
I think one really no one is really studying the education of founders, and these are really smart guys
What do you mean educational
who are
founders?
education of
Oh,
founders,
the education of
really
them.
tapping
Okay,
in.
got it.
Yeah, really smart guys talking to really smart investors. This will tell us how to educate people really quickly. So what really is something unique that we will start to focus on is maybe we can extend this tool to create more founders, really give them the tools to uh, structure their learning faster. We can actually use this tool to enlighten entrepreneurship in someone's who might not be considered an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur. So we really uh, can make entrepreneurship a little less challenging as it is supposed to be. It's almost like something you have to be an entrepreneur, but we can actually give more focus to the idea by removing this investor relations burden and learning burden, and really helping the founders with that. And the other thing is we can help the founders. Founders become really lonely when they're pursuing a startups, and I think they have 30% more chances of depression, and they don't really know how to handle it. So we can really create a community where we keep introducing founders to each other, really help them get to know each other. And because we are a math-based company, we can tilt it in the favor of minorities or who would generally be could use a little bit of a
Right,
push
they're
from us,
overlooked,
basically.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things you're talking about now is the founders and the idea of helping them. Are you trying to create a platform that might be generationally um, targeted? I mean, are you looking for all founders, or are you really looking for this much younger generation of entrepreneurs that are basically just coming out of college or have been only in the market for a short period of time? Or is it a different mix?
Ideally, we want anyone who's an entrepreneur or wants to be one, right? And you'd be surprised how many there are. There are 305 million people who want to be entrepreneurs, but uh, the statistically significant amount is only 100,000 which ever come on the landscape of angels and investors every year, and 3,000 of them are the ones who close their seed rounds. So really, we want to target all those guys. We want to give them a shot at least training to become a founder. If not, they can always join a founder which is running ahead of them and join that founder's initiative, because we know that all successful founders need assistance. So that's really what we would target. It's pretty much a large amount of people who we can reach with this, because unlike accelerators or we are not really bound by how many people we can have in a classroom and how long. So if a founder takes 6 months to learn versus 7 years to learn, they can be on our platform for 7 years to learn entrepreneurship, and then get into the venture they want to. Or they can change their idea 35 times and then really jump into the final idea that they are ready with. So really, it allows people to learn at their pace.
Now, one of the things that you've brought up here is that the platform appeals to minorities and women. How is it doing that? I mean, what is it that's unique about the platform that will enable those entrepreneurs to seek you out?
The baseline is that we will choose who the investor sees. So we can equally show anyone in the field, but if we know that we'll quickly find out that maybe minorities are predisposed to being rejected easily, we can give them a mini boost to show them a bit more. compared to the other founders. So that's, but we haven't really defined it until we get data, because we need to know how predisposed to, or what exactly is the reaction to investors. And maybe some investors now are really focused on minorities, so we can really push them towards that. So that's something which can be easily defined on our system, but definitely the survey results will tell us a lot more.
So, one of the things you mentioned is the idea that there will be educational opportunities. I'm guessing these will be like on demand videos type learning. How far along are you in the development of those educational tools?
We don't really build those tools, because I think we are experts in building a platform and not experts in education. There is a lot of resources and experts out there from several entrepreneurs, investors who are trying to push this content out. We just compile them on our platform into modules. So we actually aggregate all this knowledge, and we see what founders find useful. And then it's really like we become a library, and then we have the recommended books based on what founders thought was most helpful for them.
Question I kind of then have is this: is you're building this platform out. You're in the beta stage of at least your first cohort. You're getting ready to aggregate and publish the results of this in the next few months. What are your plans to expand the Blockseed platform?
Right now, our plan is to really complete a robust study. The expansion plans are going to be horizontal at first, because we don't want to stretch ourselves too thin. So we'll try to expand in America, followed by Europe, and then going to the markets we don't know so much about, which is Asia. And then really start to increase our value propositions, which is try to do more things. Now that we have so many startup founders and investors on the platform, we can actually look to improve our business model. So we have a good idea from the surveys about where the platform can evolve into. But really, global expansion is the way to go, and we also know the partners who we can go with. So there's several companies which create these communities, and we would basically go with them to who paved the way, and we can actually follow them by partnering with them.
Question I asked earlier was is how many were in your startup cohort? How many investors do you currently have that are at least either participating in the platform or are looking at it? You mentioned very early in our conversation that you're in the conversation stage with a number of them. So where are you in terms of that at this point?
Oh, those conversations are for our own funding raises, because we are a startup and we continuously raise capital. But the investors on our platform are 20. We have a Rolodex of 84,000. And these are the first 20, which range from being VCs to being angels. So we get a good range, and we would basically, in cohorts, have another 80 investors for the beta. Right now, we are in closed beta. And for launch, it would be open to as many investors as they want to join.
So, what are the new features that your platform is going to do? I mean, obviously, you're doing a geographic rollout. You basically said that you're doing North America, then you're going to be doing Europe, and then moving finally to probably the largest market, and that is in the APAC region. Um, what kind of new features are going to be uh, released as part of the expansion of your platform?
Sure. So our product roadmap was and for will be for the next 1 year, that we wanted to focus on startups first. Then we would introduce features for accelerators and events to be on the platform. And then really take a deep dive in the features for investors and what really do they want. Then have a brief period of tweaking those features to the best possible levels, and then go more towards agencies and the data analytics refinement for the startups and the investor, because by that time we would have some data and we can give great insights back to the startups and investors and accelerators. So that pretty much is our product roadmap, and I think any further value props would come kind of, we'll discover them in this 18-month period.
So tell me about your team. You have a number of people that show up on your website.
Yeah, let me.
Obviously, you're there, but let's hear about them.
Of course. So we have our core team is me and Siddharth. Talked about my background from analytics consulting and being
Right.
at a startup which has really blown up. And Sid has a background in product and operations. He's basically the India version of Purdue plus Stanford graduate, and he leads the team of two contractors who are our product and operations guys, and then three developers. Andrew is based in America. He has built 12 SaaS platforms. And Chris is based in Europe, and he actually worked on Udacity, which is a very
Oh,
famous
nice.
educational platform.
Yeah.
He's our product lead. And Olga and Seth are financial and legal team members. And we have angels who are closely involved as well, who have background in machine learning and SaaS platforms. And one of the
Now, these are your advisors, right?
also angels, the ones who
Okay.
invested in.
Both. Oh, great.
Yeah, and we have an ex-engineering director of LinkedIn who advises us, and then we have a lot of strategically business strategy and geographically located investors as well. To
What is that geographic distribution?
So we have one investor who's located in Asia, holds a prominent, knows all the other investors and startup communities there, and one who was the head of PwC and also the innovations knows the innovation side, who's a lady from Europe. And then we have one of the directors of Cushman, who really knows uh, because he looks at a lot of deals, especially from the real estate perspective. So he gives me a good idea about how corporate deal sourcing works, what are the tools that are available, what are required. So it's a good panel of advisors and investors that we have.
Going back to the beginning of our conversation, you were giving the background on yourself, and uh, it kind of has just been sitting in the back of my mind, this question, and that is, what made you decide not to just come over to the this venture capital slash incubator slash investment platform? What made you decide to leave those other things to come here? I mean, what was that epiphany that you had that caused you to say, you know what, this is something that's needed and I can do it?
Um, of course. So uh, really, I'm from a family office myself. My parents were basically a part of the India's boom time economy. They really saw a lot of business grow. Um, so I was born into a family which saw this economic change happen, and I wasn't affected a lot with or without capital. And so going into those investment side of things, I would have been trying to increase my investment portfolio. Basically, I'm really concerned about education because I think um, and I saw the inefficiency in the innovation industry, and I could contrast it to the pharma industry. Really, I saw that pharma industry spends some amount of capital and makes trillions of dollars amount of it, while the entrepreneurship industry invests the similar amounts of capital, and the returns are significantly lower. And the difference is because one is in a structured environment and one is not. And that's what I wanted to extend to the entrepreneurship economy.
What is then the business model of Blockseed? You can't be doing this just from altruism. On your website, you have these financing plans, I guess, and this is from the startup side, where they're paying you nominal amounts of money from free to a boost level, which I guess would be like the premium level, that would be paid to you. Is that just is this like a subscription model, the model for your platform, or what is the overall transaction? If I came in and I was a part of your cohort and you did investment funding for me, or was able to match me up, what is the compensation that Blockseed Investments gets? Are you taking a position in some of these deals, or how's that all working?
Think of us more like a school, more than a broker dealer platform. We definitely want the cohort to be super successful because that will kind of make us be recommended to others. So our focus is 100% on making the pathway most efficient, but we charge a tuition, which is a subscription fee. And then basically a SaaS product has minds. Basically, if you want to reach to an investor and you're not ready, then you have to pay us more. So that's kind of where we would make money. But ideally, a startup which is trying to learn and grow and invites other founders and help other founders. Basically, there's karma in the system. If you help other
Right.
founders, you don't pay so much, and we know that you're a startup founder, you don't have a lot of money. If you want to jump ahead and skip the queue, then you pay more. So that's one, and then we have a lot of associated to startup world agencies. There's 135 different kinds of agencies that we have mapped out, so we can definitely become a marketplace. And really just having these tools for knowing the learning curve, it's an easy sidestep to recruitment industry and education industry. So we I think our first targets, which our next round investors and next to next round investors want to see, our business model is more than sufficient to show them. And then there is a lot of insights from even this anonymized data that we are going to collect, which we'll also learn to monetize at some point.
Oh, sure. If you have that kind of data and available, you can start to publish that um, at a on also a subscription level. That should be a wonderful revenue stream for you.
Yep, I think so too.
Well, I want to thank you sharing with us all about Blockseed Investments. I think that you have a great platform. It's a fascinating platform. For I know that you're still in the beta access. I've been to the website. It looks like people can sign up and be a part of the wait list. Is that still true?
Yeah, I think we are really prioritizing our resources to the guys on closed beta, but I think within a month we are going to open it for people to sign up as well. And
So basically, somewhere around the 1st of March, we're going to be seeing the opportunity for those people, those entrepreneurs, uh, to basically reach out to your site and be a part of it,
oh, they can reach out.
give or take.
They can reach out today. We'll just let them in slightly slowly in the beginning, but really open the gates sometime around March. Yes.
That's fantastic. Now, is there any secret announcement that you have as a part of what's going on that you would like to share, or or we just keeping things close to our vest in terms of what you're accomplishing? Because I think that this is phenomenal. I think it appears to be very well developed. I've had the pleasure of interviewing others, and this is absolutely in a unique space. Um, so I really want to thank you. Unless you have something you want to add here.
Yeah, the only secret is that we are talking to some really large VC firms, and just having them with us, advising us, invested in us, we would be in sprint mode. So that's pretty much the what's going on right now. The secret at this point.
Okay. Thank you again for being a part of the Blockchain 360 podcast. For those of you who are interested, those listeners who are interested in knowing more, you can go to blockseedinvestments.com. You can find there not only information about Blockseed, but you can also read their blog. They seem to be releasing a number of articles on a regular basis that will absolutely be of high value to you as a burgeoning entrepreneur. Thank you again, and thank you for listening to Blockchain 360.
Thank you.
The Blockchain 360 podcast is produced weekly. Have a question? Want us to interview someone specific? Wish to hear about a particular topic? Let us know. You can email podcast@blockchain360.co or tweet us on Twitter @blockchain360 or at our website blockchain360.co.